I'm joined by Jiggle Supreme for LANADA Lead for Penalty, Pool C. How's it going, man?
You know, low-key stoked. I got a win, so W win. So now I'm in a good mood. I'm
Nice.
energized. I'm ready to get teams that are frankly much better than me. So yeah, this is better action. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, already. I'm actually surprisingly hyped for this game because a lot of the round one matches, because of the nature of Swiss, tend to be a little one-sided. And again, there is a possibility that this will be the case. But name value alone, this might be a little closer than a lot of the other round one matches that we had seen. Now, the teams that are playing today, we have SUPERDOOM, Jack Limestone, Celici, and Daru against Woah Chills, which is a little modified from the usual Woah Chills, where instead of just Cake, ZZ, and Taco, we now have Cero playing for Taco. And we're already getting into draft, so tell me what you think about this draft so far.
Low key. I mean, what is the map again? What is the map? Can we get a map in broad? I guess not. But what I will note. Oh, what is the map? Hello. Gates.
It
We're on Goo, the Goo Classic. Okay, W Goo. So, in speaking in regards to that, we do have the Kai with the rapid fire. He might not even take it though. He could take the stacks for all I care. But I think we are seeing a lot of known primariers here in the chat era, especially. I don't think you see her come out to play much, but that'll be very interesting to see where that is positioned on the field. If it's an era goalie, or maybe they're feeling a little spicy and advancing her up a little more than what we see usually in this day and age. So that's what I'm personally interested in seeing.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty confident, and this looks like it's SUPERDOOM on blue side, just based on the picks that we've seen so far. It's likely Jack Limestone era, Celici Juno, and the Dubu picked up for Daru, which that is probably the most unconventional of the three, despite the fact that Dubu Ford is really good on Gates of Obscura. Daru is not really a known Dubu player, so I'm curious to see how that'll shake up. And on the opposite side, we have the Cakes Kai with likely Estelle for Cero and the Luna picked up for ZZZ, the ZZZ special. Now, Rapid Fire versus Stacks. This is Gates of Obscura, notoriously open map, and that means that speed is quite valuable. But again, a lot of really good primary users here.
I think, especially, I feel like this era goalie is going to be caught between two minds because obviously having Beam, that is basically your only potent defensive ability, barring like there's some situationality to the secondary where you can like go a little faster to strike first, but by and large, you're playing into characters with decent stuff. So I figured if there were anyone on this in this lobby on the side of which one their red side, okay. Yeah, I'd figure this era would be one, if anyone, to lock in the primary. But on the other side of that coin, you have offensive potency if you take the stacks, if you choose to just third forward. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. This era I think should be going I don't know, it's weird, right? Because yes, you can use the rapid fire to kind of make the enemies a little sad, but again, the enemy forwards are Estelle, Luna, and Era is notoriously a character that kind of gets countered when you play double midfield into her. Because a lot of her niche is just shrinking the brawler who typically relies on size and making them really sad and unable to play the game. And, well, you can't do that when the enemy team doesn't really have a brawler. They're going to be sniping stuff all across, and when we get to Red Core state in overtime, the era is going to be really sad as she kind of struggles to deal with Red Core.
Because what interests me is this, to me, at least a lot of the times, particularly when taking barriers, you kind of have to be corner shove brained. But these are not necessarily corner shove characters on the side of the double midfield comp. Yep. So I guess maybe there'll be a premium put on rotations, but then you have an era, so that's kind of hard to outmobility. So it'll be interesting to see how that side approaches their offenses, given that I think it is a bit unorthodox given the match. Like we're not seeing many known stuffers bar Dubu on this Daru. This Daru on Dubu rather. But other than that, yeah, I guess core control is probably going to be at a premium here heading into this game.
Yeah, and I think so too. The most important thing, the Juno being picked up for Celici. She's very familiar with both sides of this matchup, the Estelle versus Juno and the Juno versus the Estelle. So Juno Estelle typically thought of as very Juno favored, and Celici should really be able to abuse Cero in this matchup, even more so considering that Cero is traditionally a brawler player. He doesn't have as much experience that I know of, at least, playing midfield at a high level. So I want to see what he can do to kind of combat that, and if there is some sort of strategy he's going to go with. As a quick tab for Awakenings for us, both midfielders running Mag Souls, and only 2 stacks pickups in Daru and Cero.
I mean, interesting enough, I was speaking to Sero very briefly prior to this game, and he initially said that his brawler is, quote, twice as good as his midfielder. Then he corrected himself and said maybe it's only like 1.5 times. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he can hang. Okay, W Lad. That is an auspicious start to proceedings here, but I guess I'll continue my monologue. As Kicks gets back on the map, yeah, Zero, it will be interesting to see. I feel like he is the hinge point of this team. I feel that they'll ride or die by him, as it tends to be with midfielders, especially given that it's a little more up in the air how this guy plays, but evidently starts things off extremely well. First point on the board for Woah Chills. It was 35 seconds, but that's with a Giga DC, so very clinical start to proceedings here for the red side.
Yeah, I think we almost had like 3 successful Soren angles there by Jack Limestone. Unfortunately, there is a certain point where even Soren himself stops cooking, and, well, that happened there, and already we're seeing the members of Woah Chills getting completely cooked there, losing the double barrier. Likely one barrier maybe to be traded back, but now it's just up to Cakes to perform this massive hero play. Barrage, well-timed, does rotate back around to Daru, who has the flip available, but just wants to save it. It's an open net. You don't want to use these resources that are so valuable in tough situations.
Here comes Dar. That is the Dubu special. Even if the flip didn't immediately get value insofar as a goal was scored with it, it created that crazy box situation, forced the action out of the red side defenders, and gets that goal really quickly to even the scales here. Heading into point 3, we see possession 1 for the side of SUPERDOOM. They're now looking to force that corner. They take the first barrier almost at the cost of Solici's life, but ZZZ not quite powerful enough to get the kill just yet. Great outclear found into Daru, but the roll is not going to come up trumps. Neither is the wall. That's a really unfortunate situation, but Dubu will Dubu. We now have 2 members, 1 apiece for each team, really on the brink of death here, and there we go. First kill of the game. Ultimately does not matter though. Solici finding the right snipe to sneak that past the side of that is Woah Chills for the second goal here for SUPERDOOM.
Yeah, very well played there, out by Solici and SUPERDOOM. This is kind of what I expect to see from them, how those kickoffs play out and how they use that momentum. Already we see a good kickoff there out by Solici. Now they're going to use this to get into that corner. It's not the corner they want to be in, but they do get a lot out of it.
There's like actual apes screaming outside, so I lost my flow. But in any case, here is the third goal sealing the deal.
That guy did not lose his flow.
Yeah, that guy was locked in. Daru was giga locked in. I don't know where he is spatially in the land, but evidently that screaming did not get to him as much as it got to me. But ultimately, what that does mean is it's a pretty clinical first set take here for the side of SUPERDOOM. We're seeing Jack Limestone with pick of the litter here in the draft. Possibly the M prop? Is that a block or what? You gotta walk me through.
So I very much think that is a deny. And Solici as a player, she has already been kind of shown to be a little prone to some of these KOs. She hasn't really fallen, but been in very risky situations where she's been close to death. And I think the idea is keep your midfielder alive so that you don't lose the game. And ZZZ is very good at abusing midfielders, and, well, with no missile prop, he's going to be a little bit sad as he just has to take the order. Never mind, it didn't matter. It did not matter, and Solici just died anyway. Look, I am like a prophet or something.
Daru and Co. now forced onto the back foot there. It's just exacerbated by the fact that Jack Limestone was caught on the overcommittal there. Does lose the first barrier, but it's no big deal. We have all 3 members of this blue side back on the board, and they take the barrier in tow, and wow, it just goes from bad to worse. Okay, and it just does not get much worse than that, evidently. Daru walking that thing home. Jack Limestone getting points on the board. I guess that's why he was MVP of the last set, is somehow incidentally getting so many goals in addition to these good defenses. But we'll see. Maybe this brawler Duper can start scoring a bit more.
Hey, that's the reason that he's been getting set up really well, right? And he's been using those setups really well as well. And he finally managed to get it through that. Okay. I think we're back live, at least on capture side. All good. Anyway, as we get into this third set, while we realize we were completely muted this entire time, ZZ takes one barrier, looking for potential second, and doesn't get that there. It's just the core. It goes around, and Daru looking to score this in here. Cakes luckily staying alive just for a few moments, and it just feels so awkward as Wochos, they can't reasonably push up because of the threat of this open net.
It's unfortunate, but ZZZ absolutely wreaking havoc. That was an absolutely cash money hit stun. Speaking of stuns, another one laid down onto Salici and friends, but they are able to withstand the offensive onslaught. And wow, tempo reversal being established here by Daru, who's looking to lay down the law with that Dubu wall, but it's not quite enough to get that through. But surely the ZZZ inadvertently creating a really sticky defensive situation, but it does get the intended value, knocking poor Salici off the map. And wow, chaos in the net is enough to land that particular play in zero, capitalizing in the right place at the right time to knock that thing in and get a very valuable point here on the board for the side of Woah Chills.
Yeah, Woah Chills doing a very good job here in this set 3. Absolutely necessary for them. And Daru, good job evading that rocket there by ZZZ, who's just going around collecting orbs, looking for more evade back. And in the meantime, Sarah is thrown to the wolves as ZZZ completely running out of abilities. Cakes only manages to lose one barrier there, but with the power play still there for 4 more seconds, the mix-up out of Salici means that the second barrier does fall.
ZZZ looking to encroach forward, but actually gets put on the defensive as this side surges forward. Daru doing a great job to buy enough time and also create a lot of difficulty in the net. This power play is somehow so favored in terms of the team that doesn't have the man advantage. They are still continuing to knock on this door in the goal line. Cakes doing his best to stay the execution, manages to Giga Daru in the face and also get some inadvertent portal offense, which is enough to open both nets. Both goalies now being forced to play a smidgen more conservatively as the ball trickles over to ZZZ, looking to thread the needle, but no sail there. But maybe at the second time Masking Magic will be able to happen, but the stun is enough to knock that missile primary out of dodge. But ZZZ still has tricks up his sleeve, is able to apply some excellent hit stun with the secondary to get another point on the board here for Woah Chills.
Yeah, the hit stun absolutely crucial there. And looking at the energy situation, I do actually quite favor Woah Chills. Yes, there is going to be a flip coming up on Daru soon, and they have a good offense going, at least for a little bit, but it still looks a little shaky here as Woah Chills have a lot of leeway to work with.
Ooh, Daru is off the map. Another power play is, power play. Now it's a double power play. Jack Limestone holding on for dear life. The primary is enough to delay the offense, and the collateral damage off of the NATO is enough to make sure that that power play was low-key useless. They got one barrier, but off the double power play, that's not a good enough return on investment. They will punish you at this level, as they do. Daru and Salici collapsing onto Cakes and getting the goal to stop the bleeding and get a point on the board for SUPERDOOM after a bit of a concession streak.
Yeah, after losing a few goals, they absolutely needed that, and Daru luckily staying alive, but that's not what can be said for Salici. And Jack Limestone with the evade, that does mean he has to kind of stay forward for a little too long, and that's one barrier taken, potentially a second, as they're trying to set up this corner offense on the bad corner for the side of SUPERDOOM. And Daru likely next to fall here, just waiting on one beam or one rocket. Instead, it's just Salici who dies on repeat again and again. It's just up to Jack Limestone and Daru to stall this for as long as they can. Reminder, Zizzy has a flip available. He just needs to find a kill. And there's the kill. Might just use it to take this barrier. Just drops the Crater Maker. That's the second barrier. Looking for a flip right in front of the net. Pass up from Sarah to ZZZ. The flip for the hit stun, and he gets the kill on top of it. So well played out of Woah Chills.
Incredible flip for stun there to just usher that thing home and kill Jack Limestone for good measure. And yet somehow this Luna, in spite of all that damage dealing, that killing, KOing, is only second in the level department. Cakes actually being rewarded with the first pick here. It'll be interesting to see what they spec into. In spite of the win con having materialized very clearly as damage for this red side, we are just seeing the put the fries in the bag team player on this Kai, which is quite evident. The recovery drone Luna goes nuclear. And Zero taking the stinger for good measure. That is a very kill-heavy draft to round out the back end here for Woah Chills.
Yeah, I think that's one way they can look to kind of win this game, right? Set ZZZ up for these staggered kills, give him the prize fighter stacks, and make it so Daru gets to stay very slow, making sure that the stacks on stacks stay off of him.
Here comes a nuke, wreaking havoc. Daru is the next recipient of the damage. Onslaught is looking to somehow get the goal before their time on this Earth is up, but no luck there. Daru now being forced to interact with the core once again, and that's not necessarily what you want. That's it. The Dubu almost gets it done, but Zero coming to the rescue, but is not able to rescue that particular situation. On the second time of asking, Daru sees that one home, and it is 1 point on the board here in set 4 for the side of SUPERDOOM.
Yeah, SUPERDOOM looking not doomed anymore with the results of that previous set. And as I say that, Daru meets his fate there, and now a power play here in favor of Woah Chills. We've said this time and time again. That's one barrier, potentially a second, depending on what Jack chooses to do. Daru does respawn, so this does mean that there is a little bit of respite for SUPERDOOM.
Oh, yeah, and now they're definitely turning that into some good offense. The wall is enough to seal the deal, and once again, open Cakes' net. Cakes doing their best to abate the damage there. Get that thing out of dodge for the time being, but now Daru is right where he wants it. Oh, but is not quite able to get that thing through. Jack Limestone funneling the ball into Daru, forcing the flip out of Cakes, and it goes from bad to worse. Once Cake had no dodge, I mean, Adubu feasts on those opportunities. And there we go. It is now match point for SUPERDOOM. The side of Woah Chills has really got to get their act together and start capitalizing on these power plays, or it could be all over.
Yeah, there's a very real chance, but look, there are 2 flips available for the side of Woah Chills. Sarah needs to be a little bit careful he doesn't die to a play out by Daru. And yes, he did. I was going to say just so he doesn't lose the flip, but he kind of lost his offense there, and potentially the barrier, and potentially the game off of it as well, but it does get cleared around that Tofu Fortress. The pass is cut this time out by ZZZ, but not by Sero, as Daru looking for a play up on the top side, and it still stays alive for Woah Chills. The flip saved out by Salissi, who dribbles it back, and ZZ looking for a strike where is actually lost out by the members of SUPERDOOM. It's an open net on both sides. Sarah looking for the pass to ZZZ, no goal. It just goes right on in!
Oh, that is so unfortunate. If you remember, this blue side is so fortuitous if you're ZZZ. That is exactly the wind in your sails you need. You don't matter how they go in, as long as they go in and give you some respite. And they're looking to funnel this into some more offense here. They have a second lease on life. Will they sign it? As Daru's doing their best to make sure that doesn't happen, but impeccable layering by Zero and Cakes to almost hold on to both barriers, but they do eventually lose it. And that, yes, is decidedly cooked. Jack Limestone getting in the mixer and helping Daru tap that thing home. And it is, at the end of the day, a pretty comfortable victory for the side of SUPERDOOM. Even if, from time to time, Woah Chills did make them hesitate just a smidgen, they do eventually land the plane.
Yeah, SUPERDOOM doing a very good job there. They were at the butt end of 15 KOs, 11 of which from ZZZ. You know, living up to the playstyle he typically goes towards. I love that he stays true to that, and unfortunately for him, it didn't work out today. It was a decently close game, as I kind of suspected. But Jack Limestone, Daru, Salissi moving up to 1-0 in this Pool C. And a quick check on the other matches on our end shows that none of the other matches are done, so we will have to wait for further info on that. But anything you want to say before we head to a short break?
Score on power plays. That's the lesson for today. If you kill people, probably worth scoring once you got 33% more player. Came back to bite this side, but other than that, we'll see if they can fold this momentum into a couple more wins, because now their tournament life is on the line. They'll need to pick up 2 more wins, but I believe in them. That's all I'll say. So W SUPERDOOM for picking up the win, and W Woah Chills for putting up a good fight. So best of luck to both of these teams as we head into round 2.
All right, everyone, don't go anywhere. We'll see you on the other side of a break.